where I am or anything.
Absolutely.
That is odd.
It is. Yeah, we'll get used to it. We'll get used to it as we change over to the live stream. Push of a button. Look at that! What do you guys think of that? Isn't that cool? I think.
Am I supposed to stare down the barrel or what?
Yeah, that's. We'll talk to each other. You guys can deal with that.
Oh, okay.
New setup.
That's probably less creepy.
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, slightly less.
Okay.
And doing this.
Well, the key is to be talking to you, and then slowly, as I'm saying things, talking about
exactly.
stuff,
So
just kind of
the
drift
description
over and
is
start
how that
staring.
turns out. Whoa, feedback.
Mute.
I did. With a push of a button. It's amazing. Oh, congratulations. I see you guys are already fighting it. Casey, you were fighting our viewers.
I did.
Nice.
But
I'm glad
I was
you won.
challenged. Was I supposed to turn down the challenge?
Not in the slightest.
Right.
I'm very glad you didn't.
Precisely.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to adjust this. Talk to them.
What am I talking about? What are you adjusting?
Exactly.
I can narrate what you're doing. I don't know what he's doing enough to narrate. Now he's left me. He's left me. The whole point of being here in person was so we could be together. You've left me.
There. Come on,
I seriously have no
There
idea.
you go. What the heck? It was there
Just
for a
like-
second.
Destroy everything.
Yeah, it just decided to be a dickhead. As soon as I could just do this.
So, of course, first time doing this all in person, completely different format. There are technical hurdles and little things that we're going to change and adjust, right?
Itty bitty oopsie daisies.
Right.
Just itty bitty
Hey,
oopsie daisies.
Hey, Dan.
There we go.
Hey, Dan.
Hey Dan.
Hi.
What's up, Dan? Alrighty.
Actually, kind of like that, having that over here, because I can be like, viewers,
What do you think about Spider-Man?
he's a menace!
Alright, I only say that because I'm playing Spider-Man up here. So.
Yeah, same. I've been doing that.
He's like, Casey, did he feed you? You're getting cranky.
I will just have to drink from this
Orange
suspicious
juice.
liquid.
Well, hey, this is something we could do in person. Cheers.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody to our new setup. Casey was just talking about it.
Yeah. Prove it's not fake here.
Yeah, exactly. Throw each other information. We can write letters to each other. But yeah, so our first new setup. This is also going to be the episode for the podcast as well, for releasing things on a podcast format. So fuck, I hope it sounds good.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I guarantee one of these people are going to tell us.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is
I feel like I should have known that, and you probably already told me, but I had forgotten in the interim. So.
there's a 50% chance.
Yep.
Yeah, with me, I don't know. I forget
It is
shit.
a podcast. Gotcha.
Yeah, I probably just decided
Should
that
we
a
be
second ago, and then like.
Should we be like crazy podcast close to the microphone?
Yeah, this is not your typical podcast where we're all sitting on a couch with flat back caps or chewing gum. That's every podcast I've seen. It's just always like, so what do you think about Tyson Fury? Do you think he can fight this guy? And other guys are, I don't know. And it's like, that's every podcast. I've seen every podcast is like that.
None of the podcasts that I listen to or watch are like that. What are you watching?
Have you gotten into the Batman one?
No.
It's
It's really big though.
Yeah, it overtook Joe Rogan on Spotify, the most viewed thing. I think Winston Duke's a part of it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I figured out about it. Cause
I have to listen to
they're
it.
the same.
I do love Batman, so I might have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love the idea of a narrative thing taking hold. I think that's wonderful. But yeah, well, anyway, hi everybody. We're gonna have another monster chat.
Yeah.
Delightful.
Kind of a continuation of last time because we got interrupted by the horrible internet.
Something hiccuped.
Yeah, something messed up. We got to my monster and then it crapped out as we were kind of leading into yours. And even some of mine got chopped out a little bit. But
Yeah, that's true.
we tried to summarize a bit about that.
Yeah, if you want to. If not, I'll just go straight into Medusas.
Well, we'll start there. In case something bad happens again, I'm the one that gets cut off this time.
That's true.
But first, just because we're in a different format doesn't mean we don't get to start the same way, and that is...
Goddamn right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. There was, you guys need silk smoking jackets at a fireplace.
We talked about that.
We literally talked about that. I wanted to move this to the fireplace and get pipes for us. That was my dream.
There was a point we were planning on. kind of thrown it out there halfway as a joke that we'd get dressed up for this. But I don't know why I keep looking at the microphone. Like, I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the fucking microphone.
Grayson did that last episode too. He was like, whoa.
You know,
he's like, why am I?
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, we talked about doing that, and then it's just a really stressful, long day, and I was like, I don't feel like getting all dressed up and shit. Not that it's a huge issue to do, but yeah, I think that is a possibility in our future. Some fireside chats.
100%. If not, I'm just gonna move monitors behind us.
Yeah.
Or like a monitor here, and we have the camera here.
That'll work.
And then we can talk this way to a fireplace.
I feel like this is a little empty.
It is. Yeah, we have yet to decorate the space.
I think Emily put a fine point. It's like I've been brought in to be questioned about something, and you should be sitting back here denying and crying.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't see anything.
I did nothing.
No, I snitched.
I ate all the donuts. Innocent.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They give you donuts, and if you don't eat, it's because you're guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe you're dying or something. But yeah. So yeah, there's gonna be some nice decorations here.
Yeah.
The setup alone, cameras and microphones and everything else is gonna be more accessible. And I'd love to get just a slightly smaller table. I think will be nice because then we could be a little closer. Instead of these two together, it could be one nice table. And
I do like that there's space on here, and we filmed recent episodes on this table, and it was great having the extra space, a little bit more shoulder and leg room, and I didn't feel like I was being encroached on or encroaching on other people's spots with my dice tray and all that.
Yeah.
So that was nice, but I guess there's a gap of space here that doesn't necessarily need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to work out if you squeeze that in, then the monitor's going to be too wide, might get into people's faces. So but yeah, now that we're in here, now that we've got this nice dedicated space in here, the options are limitless.
Pretty much
less limited.
Less limited. Yeah, I wouldn't say limitless, but less limited for sure.
Limited. Like
yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where everything goes. I'm excited to see where DM Chatz goes.
Right.
I don't know. It's gonna be good. It'll be good stuff, man.
We'll find a gimmick or something.
Yeah. We'll make one. And then
it's just going to be an ongoing. There's always going to be a different doodle up here that I've drawn or something.
Yeah, or it's going to be the same doodle. It's just the guy walking.
Yeah.
He just keeps going throughout every episode.
You have to clip them all together to see that he's actually doing things back here because he moves so slowly.
Yeah, walks his dog.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Episodes went really well recently. Had a blast.
Wonderful. I think the one that's coming out tomorrow is probably one of my favorite episodes we've filmed so far.
That was, yes, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's definitely a couple moments in it where the entire table was in a bit of an uproar because of just the hilarity that ensued. So yeah, I agree. And I think even the follow-up was a lot of fun. I think that was the first time I've yelled at you at the end for stopping the episode.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, no, we're in the shit.
I've been yelled at a lot those past 2 episodes. There was people yelling at NPCs, and I was like, I did all this shit, and I was yelling at me.
There was some heated stuff going on.
There was a lot of very beautiful moments.
Yeah.
Stakes have been raised.
Yeah. What's the voting box?
Yeah, I just saw that as well. Thank you for bringing it up, Mary out your dad. A new feature for our DM chats as well is that we're going to have a nice little voting pool. It's at the box down below. I'm just trying to see which side I am. Down below.
Is it this way for me? I don't know.
Yeah, you're over that shoulder. Anyway, you can choose our next topic on something that you would like to do. There's 3 that's typically mentioned over there for you to go about. How to vote for it is literally just those commands that's mentioned. However, if there's something else inside the future that you like, just write inside the comments. Something that you would like to see, and then we'll get to that as well. So, yeah, something new with the little system, and of course everyone has their stream avatars over here that you can go ahead and play with as well.
I think they're above me, right?
Yeah, you're above. You can just punch them.
Just reach out and grab one and pull it down.
Yeah. But for today, we're going to be continuing Monster Chats.
Yes,
Chats. Half continuing as well. I would love to get to Medusas, but which monster have you brought to the table today?
This time, Harpies. And I'll probably go more into that like when I talk about the Harpies, but I'm trying to, when I'm thinking about this, I think our format is DM Chats talking in the generally, because we branch off into other things, but generally, our opinions and theories and ideas about running games and what we like and what works for us, what might work for other people, things like that. And I think Harpies are one of those, like the Hill Giants I did last time, and even the UNT that I did previously, are ones that are easily accessible, easier to run, and you can be creative with for what most DMs are going to run most of the time, which are low-level encounters.
Yeah.
But they're adaptable to higher-level encounters, especially like the Hill Giant, because that's a little bit higher level. Those things can pack a brutal punch.
Jesus Christ, yes.
Or club, I
like,
suppose.
what was the, with a variation, there was a book with a variation, Storm King's Thunder, where they can literally just...
the body slam, yeah.
I love that.
That was fantastic. I actually did that here with the Harpies as well, because I knew there was a variant in one of the, in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And
great.
I'll bring that up as well when we talk about them.
Oh, yeah. Man.
As always, in the chat, questions, so on and so forth. We will chat with the chat. Mm-hmm. We oftentimes get distracted by chat questions.
Yeah,
so,
and chat stories. If you want to tell a story about, I don't know, the topic at hand, or you're just inspired, let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we do things here. You're free to nerd out, bro.
Yes, that is weird. On Twitch, talking about Dungeons and Dragons, you are very welcome to nerd out.
Damn right you are. You're in the right place. Alright.
So, take that drink, wet your whistle, and then...
That's as good as my whistling gets. That's what I gave you.
Excellent, excellent. Medusas.
Yeah.
I know not a lot about this because they snuck in the basic rules starter thing that I happened to just miss getting. So I was like, that's not the monster manual. What is this? Like, oh, Medusas. Okay.
These are two very huge books.
They cover a lot, right?
I think you can get by.
Right.
Oh wait, before we get into it though, you do have a question that applies to both Harpies and your previous topic for Hill Giants.
You can implement for a Harpy and you can't for a Hill Giant. I will actually, not to step on Dill's Medusas, I will actually, one of my talking points on Harpies has to do with the little shit you can find in their nests and things like that. So I will definitely talk about that, Dan. I promise to get back around to that, and if I forget, you are welcome to shame me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, remind them, but do it by shaming them.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
I will take it hard.
Medusas. There's a part of Medusas that I want to talk about that does apply to loot and how you can incorporate it in.
Yeah.
But to give just a brief, everyone kind of knows what a Medusa is. Typically, outside of D&D, they're called gorgons for the most part. But a gorgon is a very different animal.
Yeah, it is in D&D.
Yeah, which is also fantastic and also has like the very similar ability, same as a basilisk, that petrifying gaze.
Yeah.
But there's a small part about a Medusa's petrifying gaze that's a very different to like a basilisk. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's very interesting. Like you can use it as a DM to like build an entire quest out of this creature. So a Medusa is typically, I think it's a challenge rating of 6. Mm-hmm. So it's not a high leveled type of creature.
No.
Excuse me. But the reason why I picked a Medusa that I want to talk about and nerd out about is that there is so much behind just one Medusa that you can build like an entire dungeon and encounter and get really creative with the space for it. Without even going even into the character itself. You have a lot to build about. And so what exists inside Medusa's like lore, inside Dungeons and Dragons, like the core lore, is that's a fun thing to say, core lore. So Medusas are essentially women that wanted to maintain their beauty. They were typically very stunning, beautiful women, or they wanted to be very beautiful. And if they were beautiful, they were terrified of losing it. I don't want to get old. I don't want to get scarred, or you know, I'm working with my hands. I don't want to get damaged. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's these women that have reached out to ulterior means to seek for magic, so either through the gods or through devils, or maybe even a really powerful wizard or witch, or hag, to try and make a deal with them to bless them to keep their eternal beauty. And a lot of the cases that works. So Medusas are typically very long-lived creatures, but eventually the magic fades and they kind of get warped behind their vanity and their greed. And as a result, they start to grow the snakes for hair, and they kind of develop sort of scale-like skin that kind of shimmers once you're close to it. So apparently inside typical lore, I believe since 3.5, within 20 feet of Medusa, you should battle recognizing that it's not a gorgeous woman. It's once you're closer, like within 20 feet, that's when you can start to see the effects, which makes that petrifying gaze so much more dangerous that it could be like inside another circumstance. But if you're chasing them after inside a dungeon, you're going to be suspicious, right? But there's a few things about stats-wise that I love about the Medusa that tells a lot of stories, just their stats.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk a bit more about their petrifying gaze and how it's a little bit different. But I guess, it's probably the best way to go about into that. So, for a basilisk and a gorgon and a Medusa all have their petrifying gaze, and it's that constitution saving throw before you have several turns. You take like a full minute in some cases to turn completely to stone. And once you do, and you're petrified, you're fucked unless you can get some really strong magic.
Yeah, that alone raises the challenge rating, because petrification can be something that is permanent for someone who's heard low-level parties and everything, unless they can find someone who has like a greater restoration spell or something like that. Or then once you get high enough level that you can do that, it's less problematic, but usually you need like greater restoration costs a spell component, which, as I recall, I think it's like 500.
Yeah, I want to say, is it
something.
500 GP?
I think it's 500 gold.
Yeah.
So, it's a spell slot, but it's also that each time that it happens, and if it happens sometimes multiple times through a fight, that can be very expensive and very problematic.
Exactly, because it doesn't need to maintain eye contact with you. If you're affected by it, you're affected by it. She's moving the fuck on, right? So here's the fun thing is that works the same in terms of everybody else, and of course it still applies in the same route that you can avert your eyes or close your eyes and get a disadvantage on it. That immediately, of course, raises the stakes and the challenge rating of the monster itself. But there's two small parts about this gaze that's different to Basilisk and Gorgon. The Medusa is subject to seeing its own gaze and being petrified. So that alone, number one, opens up your players to be so creative about this encounter. Now, you can say it's dim light and things like that, so things like using your shield or your sword to reflect it won't entirely work, like it's matted or whatever, so they have to get creative. Or they use a spell that's non-combative to light the area up so that kind of reflection actually does work. And that's a non-combative spell being used inside combat
It's great.
It's gold. It's a beautiful moment. You know what I mean?
I love it when players can think up, and we've talked about stuff like that previously, using minor illusion to your advantage of creating a box that you can hide behind that unless they do investigate it, they'll think that there's a box there, and now you have cover. So this would be one of those situations, how creative with a and more of a utility spell or ability that could potentially give you that advantage or possibly create something that's reflective.
Absolutely. I mean, there's certain abilities that aren't entirely magical based that can apply for this, like the Storm Herald Barbarian. You know, I think if you follow the tundra environment of that, I think like 6th level or something, you can freeze 5 feet of water. So like just having ice as a reflective surface is something a barbarian could end up kind of doing. Stuff that you can argue about. So there's a lot to utilize in that environment. Which, in that alone, you can feed to your characters as they're touring through this dungeon tomb facing that there's like shattered mirrors and frozen soldiers and things like that. But the swords and the shields are fine. That she hasn't tarnished them. So there's a small plant of like, okay, we would have to think out of the box to get a reflection, because clearly this is a Medusa kind of vibe. So not only is this somebody immediately a monster that made a deal with the devil, which is a very specific person thing, like there's a character, there's a history behind this monster. There's immediately building a lair based around it has become so much more creative, because there's other adventurers could have gone for it and try to find it, and that's where that loot comes in, because they left their goods first.
That is an excellent point. That's when Medusa, like proper name Medusa, or Medusa's gorgons are used in lore and in television and stories and all that. You see that layer is always littered with other adventures that are in stone, and sometimes none of the weapons are affected. It's just their body and oftentimes whatever clothes they're wearing.
Sure.
But usually the sword and the shield are completely fine. So maybe they have some stuff on them, or maybe it's just all of the mundane items have been hardened with them. But interesting, that necklace that they have is not hardened because it's a, I don't know, necklace of prayer beads or something, which could have greater resto in it. Just an option for them if you think, as a DM, if they succeed on an investigation or take a chance and grab that item, they might get that benefit later on, that little that key to help them in the combat.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, talking about seeing those things, and that's good note for a DM. If you're not sure if the players are going to understand how best to handle this combat, having previous failures in there, and if they look and investigate them, you can give them little hints.
Yeah.
It's like you notice that this one tried to avert their eyes, or this one was trying to reflect with the shield, but it didn't work for some reason.
Yeah.
And the players can get little nudges in the right direction, because it's not like you're giving them a bunch of hints per se, because that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Investigate, find out these answers, clues to how to take care of these things.
Yeah.
That's always how the hero in one of the movies does. They look over and they go, oh, that person was doing
I
this.
piece it
That's what I
together.
can do. Yeah.
And then the stupid dumb guy who's really strong is just getting his ass kicked, and he's
Right.
like, I know how to do it! And
Right.
they run
There
and
you
save
go.
it.
It's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just a good classic monster too. I just want to say it's a great classic. And,
Yep. Yeah.
Medusas.
There's a question from Mario Chidan about Medusas that
Yes.
I am going to get to just 1 second, because it is something that I wanted to talk about actually.
Mm-hmm.
But just to stick with the petrifying gaze for 2 seconds.
Mm.
And there's another reason why the Medusa works so much better than the Basilisk, in my opinion, in terms of like storytelling elements. Because we can bend anything. We're dungeon masters. That's the point, right? But a Basilisk gets its ability, its petrifying gaze, from a biological standpoint. It's how it's kind of created. It's a type of ray that does it. Medusas get that from a curse.
Right.
It's magically inclined for them. Their petrifying gaze is magical. So any of these statues and everything else, these people lying about, detect magic could easily be something that you happen to come across, right? And so we're using our Arcana check to see if there's anything, so not necessarily just nature or information that's lying about, there's magic that's inclined for people to be able to utilize and get more information from. Marriage then asked me another question that is entirely going to work with it as well. So if Medusa loses an eye, does it give her disadvantage on the gaze? That I would, maybe.
Well, it's a saving throw, so would it give you
Oh,
advantage
that's
on it maybe?
True, yeah.
Advantage on the saving throw?
Or maybe it would just limit the range. He has an eyesight range now.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Like half their actual visual range or something, yeah.
Sure, or you could just drop the DC if you would like.
Yeah, that's another way to do it is messing with the, and I'll talk about that briefly with the Harpies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime, just as a quick and easy, if you don't want to completely homebrew something from scratch or get too overly creative with something because you just want to slightly enhance either the difficulty up or down in a combat, just mess with spell save DCs, armor class, health, the damage die bonuses, things like that. Just those little things, you can mark them down, make a note for yourself, whatever, and you've instantly changed the combat into something a little tougher or a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And that's a great example of something you could do in the moment where there's not specifically a rule for that.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, if they happen to roll so specifically that they are able to hit the eye, they get a crit and you want to reward it, something like that, you can drop the DC for the save, change the eyesight range. Those are all good, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to check on something, just because I'm that person.
Yes, of course.
When you said petrifying gaze, I was pretty sure, and now I get to be this guy.
Oh, yeah?
The Gorgon has a petrifying breath.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, you are right.
It's a big cone,
It-
which is why I love Gorgons.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, that's fair. Thank you for mentioning it. However, on the topic of her gaze and petrifying gaze, like she gets this ability from curse. Once again, basilisk is biological. In other words, you kill a basilisk, it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to kill a lichen, alright? A werewolf, a werebear, whatever, and you kill them, they fall on the ground, they revert back to the human form. Now, if you had to take a vial of their blood, that's not going to be human blood. You know, like in terms of what you were thinking.
Sure.
So it's very easy to say that curses last long after a person is dead.
Yeah.
Because it's cursed, especially if it comes from a god. It could be something well within the attainable. In other words, if you kill a gorgon and you remove its head, you can make a special magical item well within the lore and the rules of the book that a few times a day, maybe once per day, you can have a petrifying gaze from using this Medusa's
You're going
head.
full like, what is it?
God of War.
Jason the Argonauts or whatever, where
it is Perseus.
Perseus,
Clash of
right. Sorry about that. But yeah, where you actually use it for that. Theoretically, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could, and that's a beautiful item to like saw off a Medusa's head.
That would be a fun one if they, have them do some type of survival or medicine check to do it correctly, or involve Arcana in some way to get it where you can still utilize that. Maybe require a bit of an enchantment to keep the body active, the eyes open, something like that.
Sure.
Have some little extra step to it. But yeah, that could be a lot of fun, especially if it were once a day or once.
You would have to limit it, in my opinion. I think you would.
I mean, eventually it would become less dangerous to have around because it would probably keep the same lower spell save DC.
Sure, yeah.
And as the
DC
players,
14.
Players level up at DC 14, spell save becomes less and less of a problem for bigger and bigger bad guys.
Yeah, you can just eventually, if you have a house, just set it up as a trap. Anyone that walks in, and then I was like,
could be fun,
that motherfucker tried to rob us.
Like, oops, we killed the mailman.
Yeah. And so, just to come over a previous question.
Yeah.
Are there any minor monsters or henchmen that the Medusas keep / control that they can be included in their lair or just with them? Cool. So, here's something fun about their stats. Alright? The AC of a Medusa is 15, right? The dexterity modifier is +2. So, basic defense of like how you go about just unarmored defense, right? That is typically what? That's 8 plus proficiency plus dex, or is it 10?
I think it's
right.
The 8 plus proficiency plus dex is a spell save DC. Armor is.
So by applying the stats to it, having scaled skin is essentially what is giving her that 15 armor class. It's like it's something you could piece together pretty well, right?
Yeah.
And then as a result, if she is kind of scaled and she has snakes in her head, you could easily have a whole bunch of wanties running around inside the lair. It's kind of worshipping her in particular, right? She's this sort of ascended, beautiful snake-like god.
I never really thought about connecting the two of those together.
Yeah.
That does make some sense, that connection, because she's practically a snake hybrid, the kind of things.
Yeah.
Or
at least charismatic enough to. Snake hybrid.
That could be interesting. I didn't think about that. My mind immediately went to some type of lackey that has, say, a blind sight or a tremor sense, so she keeps them around, doesn't have to worry about that. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Medusas in D&D, they can choose whether or not to use their petrifying gaze. It's not like a permanent curse that they're always inflicting upon people.
Oh no, the Medusa
say from lore.
Force it to.
Do they force it?
Yeah. So when a creature can see the Medusa's eye starts its turn within 30 feet of it, it can force it to make a Constitution saving throw.
It says they can force it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to.
I don't think they do.
So you could diplomatically convince a Medusa not to turn you to stone, maybe?
Yeah, 100%.
And keep locked eyes with her.
Yeah.
Well, there's options there too. So her lackeys could be completely fine hanging out with full eyesight, the Yuan Ti say.
Yeah.
No problem, because she doesn't want to turn them to stone.
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting. Does it have a one of those you save and you're immune for a certain amount of time kind of situations?
Oh, like if you're...
Because some monsters do and some monsters don't.
I don't think I'm seeing that before.
So anytime...
If you fail by 5 or more, you're instantly petrified.
Oof.
Yeah, otherwise you make your saves at the start of your return for minutes. And it lasts until the creature is free with a great restoration spell. Nope, no mention of it.
Okay.
She can keep going for it.
That is That's nasty right there.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely some where if your party, most of them or all of them save for the rest of the fight, some abilities of monsters are completely just gone. They're useless.
Yeah.
The Harpies will have that. But with the Medusa being able to use it constantly, keeping you choosing, do I risk this or do I close my eyes and take disadvantage on the attack?
Yep.
That's big for the
That
fight.
sticks.
Yeah, that's big.
That's some big sticks. What happens if I cast light on the dismembered head of a Medusa? Do I have a petrified lantern of sorts?
Sure.
I mean, kind of. You would draw people's attention to it,
Yeah.
and then you can immediately utilize it. Yeah. And can I cost friends and keep a Medusa from petrifying me then? Probably.
Briefly.
If you can get away from it, they do walk away knowing that you cast a spell.
Yeah, which usually makes people very angry.
Yeah.
And friends, they regard you as a friend. You have advantage to convince them of things, but that does not mean you're getting off scot-free necessarily.
No, they don't want you to leave, I imagine. But
friends is one of those that it has its brief uses, but usually you want to get your ass out of there as quickly as possible.
100%.
It's you friends with the guard and get past them quickly.
Yeah.
And then hope they don't set off an alarm too quickly.
Yeah.
Or you're being chased and you cast friends and convince them, hey, the people you're really after went down that way. You roll your advantage deception or whatever, and then take off down a different alley.
Yeah.
Friends is... yes, theoretically you could try that.
Yeah, you can always try.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, that's enough of me. That's why I enjoy them so much.
That's why you
They
sound great.
Yeah. Otherwise, I will end up talking for quite some time.
That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
After hearing what you were going to do last week, and me not having a whole lot of ideas about or how Medusas are used in 5e, because I didn't realize they existed.
Sure.
I am more interested in possibly using them in the future. Cause there's a lot of fun options there, especially when it comes to, like you said, building a layer around it.
Yeah, you can build a whole quest, and like we said, they get zapped, then like that's a whole side quest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the great things. When we talk about these monsters, I'll try and bring up is not just random encounters, which the monsters are all good for, making random encounters, but also how you can make more of a side quest or a story built around or a layer, something like that you could dive into, because the monsters are not just for random encounters.
No.
There's a lot of things you can do with them. We good on... Oh, we got one more question, I think.
Medusas learn how to use a bow and a short sword, because they do have that. They just have a bunch of round Medusas to kill them. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They've had years of practicing. So.
Yeah, and like you said, they're cursed, so previously they might have been quite adept with all that weaponry. Yeah. And they didn't lose that just because they became a weird snake monster.
No, they just gained several other weapons attached to their noggin.
Yeah, and for the most part, now you can always mess with this and what happened, or how much of them has mutated, but generally they have both of their arms for use, so
exactly.
There's no reason really why they couldn't use a short sword or a bow or whatever they have.
Yeah, short sword and bow. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's enough for me.
Is it? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So, without intending to do so.
Yes.
Because previously I had paired hill giants with your Medusas.
Correct.
Two things that could not be a whole lot more different than they already are.
Sure.
And then I was just thinking about, okay, what are things I like to throw at players fairly early on that are really versatile and fun to mess with, because they have kind of unique fighting styles and stuff. And I was like, oh, Harpies. And I was like, as we're sitting here, I'm like, shit. It's a more predominantly represented female race that uses like charming and stuff like that.
Pretty
and
much.
Involves a bunch of saves and all that. So unintentionally made them
we got a theme,
kind of thematic. That said, either of which you can mess with the lore and make them not just of female gender. There is lore behind both of them that would cause that to be more likely, but you can mess around with that kind of stuff. We talk about it all the time. Adapt it to the lore you want it to be. Use the influences or inspiration of what's there for you and mess with it. Harpies have this real deep lore of I'm trying to remember all the detail. They're cursed elves. Like the original Harpy was a cursed elf
I didn't know that.
that fell in love with someone whose name I'm gonna forget because it's a D&D style name. Yeah, like a god. And then another elven god came down to help lure that other one back out of the woods to come to their this elf that had fallen in love with the other deity. I'm explaining this really terribly, but I also don't remember any of their names. That's not something I put in my notes. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
But when it didn't work, that mortal, as much as elves are mortal, that mortal elf, that non-deity elf, got so enraged at the gods for the betrayal and the failure of that. They cursed the gods and kind of mutated into this thing that instead of having a strong passion and love, their passion turns into a hunger for flesh and to devour anything that they could lure in with their song. And it's got this actual real deep and gross and just amazing background, which just knowing that can lead you into what the personality of a harpy is.
Yeah.
That it is truly, there's a lot of creatures out there that it says like, okay, they're evil, that's the stat block says they're evil.
Yeah.
But, you can mess with that a little bit, or they're just trying to survive or something like that, but there is a root of hatred and hunger and evil in harpies. Yeah. And that makes them, you could be a little bit more interesting with this. They speak common, so you can communicate with them. They're not incredibly intelligent because they got a 7 intelligence.
Okay.
So they're not very, very smart, but hell, I think we've all run a character that had close to 7 intelligence before.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's played
It's still smarter than most like beasts and stuff like that. Those are all in the 3, 4, 2 kind of range. So they're not incredibly intelligent. Their wisdom is a base of 10, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
So they're not the dumbest things out there. Yeah,
to them.
And there is a lot to that. They're even often portrayed and described as being cowardly. So they're the kind of creature that like to lay traps for people.
Okay.
And when the trap goes wrong and they start getting hurt, they like to run away. So that's another thing that you can bring into the combat with a harpy is how many traps you could lay for people. Do they use their alluring song, which is a saving throw? It's a pretty low saving throw, but again, you can drop that DC down or raise the DC up, make it a little bit more difficult if you feel so inclined. But if you've got, and I highly recommend doing this, several harpies out there, because they travel in these flocks, they ambush, they do stuff like that. You're throwing out a lot of saves out there. Someone is bound to roll fairly poorly. Yeah. And them being charmed is not a charm like some of the other, you just do what they say and stuff like that. It's only a charm until the beginning of or end of your next turn. But you use your movement to start walking toward them.
Oh.
So do they lead you off a cliff?
Yeah, off your ship.
Off your ship. Yeah. Harpies attacking a ship is a great time to do that because they'll nest up on some craggy rock somewhere. Yeah, then no one swoop in, attack the ship, and if something goes wrong, they escape across the water. Yeah. And I think we've got a 40-foot flying speed. That's so for the most part, they're going to outpace what you've got. You get to turn the big ship around or whatever if you're going to chase the harpies, which realistically in most cases, when you're throwing harpies at your players, they're probably not captaining the ship, and the captain's like, nah. Yeah. But their versatility is great because you can attack on land, they can attack you out on the ocean. Yeah. You're in an airship, they can attack you up there too. So you can throw them in a lot of different scenarios. Yeah.
They can even use that kind of for the typical retreating to like lure the ship to more craggy rocks. Exactly. And like the ship stuck and it just wait you out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, you can do that. Taking towards some type of whirlpool or something that is going down.
100%.
They take advantage of situations. They try and get people when they don't expect them to attack. So they're great for ambushing. Now, downside to them is they don't have high health. They have low armor class. When you do save from the alluring song that they have, immune for 24 hours.
24 hours. Okay.
Again, to increase the difficulty of that, you can increase the DC on the song. You can do away with the immunity, or make it temporary, like you're immune for an hour. they run away, and by the time you encounter them again, you're not immune anymore.
Sure.
You could do something like that. Or even the next day, you could still do the 24-hour. And then your obvious boost their AC, their armor, or their hit points, stuff like that,
Yeah.
to make them slightly more difficult. But numbers goes a long way. Action economy goes a long way.
Yep.
You get a swarm of 10 of these guys on your 5 party members, that can be really, really, really problematic.
Yeah.
And something I think is great to do in a situation where you've got a ship,
Yeah.
you got a boat out on the ocean, they come in and attack, they start picking up crew members and just leaving with them. There's another interesting thing about their lore, which would be great for finding their lair. You could find a large nest or a cavern that they've nested up in, which is a great place where you could find, Dan, you could find little trinkets and stuff like that, because they do enjoy the little shiny things and stuff like that. You can find various trophies of things that maybe, I think Dan was saying, comparing to hill giants, they might not give a crap about. That's more about smush. Maybe
smush.
Eat the person.
Munch.
Yeah, they're not really concerned about jewelry and things like that. Whereas the harpies might, thinking like a crow maybe, might adorn their nests with some of the shiny stuff. And turns out it's jewels or it's a magical item. They also like to keep trophies of the people they've killed. So maybe they've adorned it with arms or a head or something like that. If you wanted to get really creepy with it. The other thing that is in the lore about harpies that you could include, again, this is if you want to get intense with it.
Get intense.
They are prone to torturing their captured for a long time.
Oh God.
Because they love the song that people sing as they're screaming and being tortured.
Oh, that's grisly.
It's very gruesome. You do not have to implement that, but theoretically, say they take a couple of NPCs with them.
Yeah.
Maybe they get away with a player character.
Yeah.
There's technically a period of time there where they may not be dead yet if you do want to hunt them down to their nest.
Yep.
You might have some time. That person may be in really bad shape.
Yeah, they can walk away with like an injury, like missing an eye.
Yeah.
Or
But without getting into crazy, gruesome stuff like that, adding that element of they're picking up crew members with, a commoner's health and armor class and just leaving with them during combat adds an element to the combat where now the players are like, oh crap, now I have to protect people around me.
Yeah, they took George.
Yeah. Or if they're not so concerned about it and they're just killed the harpies, oh well, they left with people. Well, now you're on a boat with 20% of the crew it had before. How are you getting to land?
Yeah.
Was the captain one of the people taken?
Yeah, or navigator.
Or the navigator?
He's probably up in the crow's nest.
Now you're lost at sea. If someone doesn't have some type of sailing background, which maybe someone does, but if they don't, now you've got a ship lost at sea.
Exactly. If they don't, you're stuck at sea, and that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But if they do, it's now the player's turn to become a captain. Best of luck with that responsibility.
Just checking because I had like one or two other things, but I want to check and see.
Yeah. The stats specifically said the bird pods are vulture. Just thought that was interesting. Also weird that they use clubs instead of something like dropping stones from above.
You use clubs. I mean, again, there's that history, kind of like with the Medusa. They used to be way, way, way back when, more distant for them.
Sure.
That they used to be elves.
Yeah.
Not so much just like this one Medusa happened to be cursed. It's
Yeah.
the harpies have
There was
like
a culture to it.
Yeah, they've bred and stuff since then. So the original, technically, there was one original harpy. If you get that into the lore, and all descended kind of from that. Again, adjust the lore accordingly to what works for you.
Yeah.
And again, you can mix in. It doesn't just have to be females and all of that.
Oh,
But, when you're describing the song, make sure that it's the most beautiful thing that they've ever heard. The players, the characters, should be completely entranced by them.
Yeah.
Oh, and with the saving throw, if you do lead them off a cliff or off the edge of the ship, you do get that one additional chance to save. So the likelihood, even at a lower level, the likelihood of failing twice on a DC 11 is pretty low. It's very low.
Yeah.
That's why having a lot of them is good. because there's multiple times, or if you want to make it a little bit more difficult,
Yeah.
heighten the DC or make it like the Medusa where they're not immune after they save.
Yeah, there we go.
That's just a way to increase it.
Yeah. I think a fun pod could do if you were trying to go to the alternative of
Mhm.
like getting rid of the 24-hour sort of
Yeah.
stipulation. You could always just make it a recharge ability, like a 5
Right.
to 6 kind of recharge, because then
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
it's up to fate if this goes well or
Right.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, do so. I think I don't know, the Medusa's whenever, but I think the
Yeah.
Gorgon, the Petrifying Breath, is one of those 5-6 D6 reroll.
Recharge, yeah.
Recharge.
Petrifying Gaze is just permanent.
Yeah.
Medusa can
Just do it whenever, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, let's see, what else do I have here?
Oh, but you get immunity to the Harpy song. Is it only specific to that Harpy?
It's actually a great question, because
Yeah.
I'm so used to doing this in front of my desktop where I've got like windows and stuff open that I can double check this stuff.
Yeah.
So let me double check on that real quick.
Sure.
I
Apparently
had the
it's-
Harpy up, but I got rid of it
Sure.
to be an asshole about the Gorgon.
About the
thing.
Gorgon. I do
Uh,
believe it's stipulated as this Harpy's song.
This Harpy song, yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. It is this Harpy song. So
So,
again, adding multiple Harpies in there, you will need to keep track. So that's something extra for you as a DM and for the player. Which
Yeah.
Harpies you're immune to, and so on and so forth. So be aware that could be problematic the more Harpies you add in. You can also put it on the players and say, hey, you're immune to that Harpy now, don't let me forget.
yeah.
Because you're running a ton of things. Sometimes
Exactly.
asking those things of your players is not that much of a
Yeah,
oversight.
I rely on
Yeah.
you guys very much a lot of the times to
Yeah.
be like, thank you for reminding me of that one aspect I mentioned
Right.
earlier.
Right,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I've been playing and my players have said something like that. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, thank you, I completely friggin' forgot.
Yep.
Oh, they reminded me of stuff that benefits me.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it when a player does it. I try and do that as a player too. It's like, whoa, don't forget, I made that attack reckless, so you get advantage
You get
on it.
advantage on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
As I want to be fair about it, and it's fun. Yeah, I think being fair is fun.
Yeah, it is. In this game it is.
Yeah,
You're not the one in danger.
right.
It's just
Right.
the character you love. You might lose them. They might die.
So, even the environments they list on here as possible environments:
Mm.
coastal, forest, hill, mountain. It's like everything except for the desert, which you
Yeah.
can make a desert harpy. You can make a desert harpy if you want.
Oh,
to.
dude, you
It's
can
got
hell
vulture
yeah.
elements to it. Why not do a
Exactly.
desert harpy?
That's brilliant.
It does. It has vulture stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
And let's see. And during that time, you're incapacitated while you're charmed. So there's plenty of stuff, and it specifically says, I believe, that opportunity attacks will still happen as you walk through. So the harpy can charm you,
Yeah.
have you walk toward them through other enemies, and they
And
can just
just-
hack and slash at you.
I
as
was
you go
thinking
along.
about that as
Yeah.
well. Like if they,
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of creature would a harpy would tame
Yeah.
to like kind of roam the land or whatever. But the idea that they're kind of there, just you're just walking through people like stabbing you, trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says it doesn't avoid opportunity attacks, but before moving into damaging terrain, such as lava or a pit,
No.
and whenever it takes damage from a source other than the harpy, they can repeat the saving
They
throw.
can
So
repeat it.
with each of those opportunity attacks, you'd get another save. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some crazy bad rolls. We started one of our recent episodes that way, where it was just like two.
Yes. Yeah. That was
The
it
episode where I
was-
did not roll in the entire episode. I didn't roll the whole.
That's right. This next episode, you didn't roll once. It was nothing. It's yeah.
I am still involved in role playing and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
100%.
None of my activities required it.
It wasn't. Yeah.
What else? I've specifically written down here statistically evil, which I brought up and mentioned that.
Yes.
What else? I like the trophies. I like the torture. The Ghosts of Salt Marsh
Yeah.
module. Fun module if you ever want to run it. It's got a lot of cool things, and it also has some seafaring things that are interesting. I've used it just for boat stuff. It gives you different
Excuse me.
sizes of boats and what everybody's
Yeah,
role is on
duties
there.
on boats.
Duties on the boats.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good resource just for that. And I have taken some seafaring creatures, some marine enemies,
Yeah.
and used them when my players are traveling. Some of the is it Sahagin?
Yes.
Sahagin?
Yes. Queen.
Sahagin.
Yeah.
Um,
Merfolk,
I
Marrows.
remember seeing those.
The
But
drowned ones.
Yes.
They're terrifying. Like,
I've used some of the Sahagin variants from Ghost of Saltmarsh
Yeah.
for them to attack as well. Because one of them it's like a shaman that creates a whirlpool,
Fuck
and
yeah.
I've used it on some of my players to create that whirlpool where the boat's falling over. And,
Sure.
they have to try and fight against that while fighting off the Sahagi, and it was some fun shit.
That's amazing.
But there is a Harpy matriarch variant in there.
Okay.
That's a little bit tougher, got a little bit higher armor class, got more health. I don't have her stats in front of me right now, but in addition has something they can use once a day called Visage of Desire, where it's a 30-foot radius charm.
Oh, fuck.
I don't believe it comes with immunity. It might come with immunity. I'd have to double check that. But what it does is the charm paralyzes them for a turn. So when you're paralyzed, attacks on you when they hit are auto criticals.
Critical, yeah.
It's being paralyzed is really
Can't
brutal.
react, can't take actions or reactions.
Yes.
Yeah. Oof.
It's incapacitated with also the auto crits on melee attacks. I think, not ranged attacks, if I recall correctly.
Jesus.
Adding that little bit extra, and she still has the alluring song with a higher DC, so it gives you that little bit stronger. I think it's a 14 on the DC.
Well, I guess it's kind of cool because if she's engaged in a fight, you
Yeah.
can lure one person into the radius.
Yeah.
So like the ranger or the wizard that's flinging spells,
Yeah.
just like, and then get her next turn.
And she has a slightly better intelligence stats, not a lot,
No, it makes sense.
but smart enough to be in charge of the flock or
The
whatever you
cronies.
say. Yeah, the murder of harpies. Or what do you call a flock of vultures? or some-
Storm? Isn't it Storm?
vultures? Could be.
I'm gonna look that up.
You look that up.
Yeah.
She also has one unique ability, and that is for an hour, she can turn into or take on the visage of a humanoid.
Oh shit.
So when you're talking about someone being able to lure them into traps and things like
Yeah.
that, it does specifically say does not stand up to scrutiny. So it's a bad illusion.
Okay.
But it's enough that you're not seeing a weird half vulture person
Yeah.
try to lure you over. You see a humanoid. I think it says humanoid, so that gives you a lot of variety of what she can look like.
Elf, drow, dwarf.
Dragonborn,
Yeah.
She can look a little unusual. Not just but it's always a human.
Once
It's-
again, I know we're sticking on the ship things, but someone stranded on a rock at sea.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't have to put up much of a performance. She's just lying limpless, like on a
Yeah,
rock.
lying over there or seeing someone they're waving there's a storm and you can't see very well.
Yeah.
Don't need a whole lot for them to look clearly. Even with a good perception check at a distance,
Yeah.
you would need something really good to tell there's something off, because low visibility, distance at night.
No reason for distrust, I think, is also a big thing.
They're intelligent enough to create ambushes and traps, so maybe they know that it's not a perfect imitation,
Yeah.
so they hide it a bit. They hide in the shadows. They stay far away, so while it doesn't hold up to scrutiny, if you're really far away, can't really scrutinize it that much.
No, yeah.
So another option to add something cool in there, like I did with the Hill Giant body slam variant.
Yes.
Looking in the other modules for stuff, the Harpy Matriarch, really neat out of Ghost of Saltmarsh.
That's actually brilliant.
Yeah, one of many reasons why that's a great module and good to look at.
Yeah.
We started to play a little bit in that.
We
and
did. I mean,
The pandemic ruined everything. So.
It did. I was really enjoying it, to be honest with you.
You were just ready to get on the ocean. That's what you wanted.
100%. I wanted to make potions on the ocean, baby.
That's true. That's right, because you were an alchemist. huh?
Alchemist, man.
That's right.
I wanted to make my.
Oh, I completely went away from the chat. I have no idea what's going on now.
Oh, that's okay. We do have some questions.
Excellent.
However, it's a kettle. A kettle of vultures.
A kettle of vultures.
A kettle of vultures.
Interesting. Like a kettle, like.
Yeah. I didn't entirely know the. Yeah, when you see a flock of vultures in flight, you're witnessing a kettle of vultures. Oh, but if you see them resting together, that's a committee of vultures. And if you see them feeding, that's a wake of vultures.
Wow, this all other than kettle, both of those
Is this
seem
on
very.
Reddit? No, it's nature.org. So.
That seems very appropriate. A wake of vultures. It's morbid, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
And a committee, I mean, kind of look like they're wearing some sort of official suit.
Yeah, pretty much. They
Not
do kind of like
Not
that. Like,
exactly like a penguin would, but
and
it's
the
kind of like
old men
they're
just
all,
be like, rah, rah, rah,
yeah,
rah.
looks like a bunch of old.
If you look at the old men
ball
from Muppets,
there you go.
what do they look like?
Statler and Waldorf, they look like vultures.
Yeah.
And they're up in that box and everything. That makes way more sense. They're vultures, not to me.
They're vultures.
Yeah.
So I totally skipped over something real quick. So while you
Do
take
it.
a look at the little question, there is a variant. There's two variants of Medusas.
Oh, nice.
There's one inside Waterdeep. It's like the upgraded one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one from, I love this, the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica,
Of course.
called the Undercity Medusa. If you play Magic, you know that Medusas are kind of typically related to the Golgari faction. But the Undercity Medusa has a higher AC, higher hit points, stats through the fucking roof. She gets spells like Expeditious Retreat, Fog Cloud, Misty Step, gains magic resistance, which, is
That's
pretty
big. That is big.
but
yeah.
also has a wonderful ability. So, the Petrifying Gaze increases by 30 feet.
Mhm.
If a creature is surprised upon the Petrifying Gaze, I think there's something. Oh yeah. So, the Undercity Medusa gets a surprise attack. So she adds extra 3d6 damage to each attack that she makes on a creature that she surprises them. And during the first round of combat, the Medusa has advantage on all attack rolls made against any creature that's surprised. So if you compile that with from 20 feet, they look
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
look like a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of that. So that's just something. But there's a very interesting question in chat here that I would love to address.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can a Kenku copy a Harpies song?
I think being that it is something magically innate to the harpy,
Right.
I would say no.
No, because it's like a magical thing. Because if you have the actor feed
Yeah.
and you listen to a song
It's-
for a minute,
Yeah.
you could
Oh, you could
technically recite it.
you could make it sound exactly like one in that you could mimic them, maybe even trick harpies at
Oh,
a
there you
distance.
go.
If you're outside of the range, you could utilize it for plenty of things, or do it to ward off people that know what a harpy sound sounds like, and they're like,
Exactly that.
"Whoa, stay away from those rocks," and
Yeah.
you got that.
Once again,
Now-
doing that minor illusion or an illusion to make
Sure,
it
yeah.
harpy,
A silent image where it's a harpies.
yeah.
Could you do more than one if it's still contained within silent image, or is it just one?
No,
big
I think
thing?
it's a single image. You can
Alright,
mass
one-
illusion.
Yeah, I could do mass
Yeah,
illusion.
yeah.
But silent image, even then, one harpy would be enough because they travel in these
In
flocks
packs,
or
yeah.
kettles, I guess,
Okay.
in kettles until they're feasting on you. Then it's a wink.
And if they're sitting on the mast, it's a committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, remember they can speak in common, so there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it.
Yeah.
They have a spoken language that I guess it's Elven history, so odd that they don't speak Elven.
Yeah,
but-
or Sylvan if it goes back far.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You have them walking around the woods talking to gods and stuff. It
Yeah.
seems kind of ancient, but
Sure.
yeah.
Once again, DM's discretion, man. You
Yeah,
can change
do whatever
that.
you want. Yeah, mess with that. Adjust it according to how you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the chat's not working for me anymore, so I don't see it.
Oh. Yeah. That was the last question over there.
Okay. Cool,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and we are coming up on about an hour.
Oh yeah,
So-
I guess it is right about that time.
Yeah, so I don't know. We could end up calling it there.
Yeah.
I think we got a few votes on our.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what they are. The screen is so small I can't see what the
Oh,
vote is. Let me
really?
see if I'm gonna turn it here. Oh, I think more monsters. Cool.
So it's more monsters, wilderness and travel, and then combat. How do I
And
make
combat.
mistakes?
It all
That
says
was
0 to me, so I have no
Zero,
idea.
three. Oh yeah, I don't know if it hasn't refreshed or whatever. But Mary Archidem was voting on travel.
Okay.
So
We have talked about that a little bit.
we did. We brought it up briefly. It could be a fun topic of how to expand
Sure.
traveling.
Yeah.
You could go through different circumstances as well. Sea travel, interdimensional travel.
Oh sure.
Yeah, like how do you handle going in between the elemental planes,
Mhm.
etc.
Yes, we have talked about using different types of ability checks to travel, not just always survival and perception. We've talked about
Yes.
using how would you putting it on the players. How do you want to utilize your persuasion skill to travel better? How do you want to use your history to travel better? And
Yeah.
if the player can justify it, well, maybe you give them the roll and it does better for the day. We talked about
How do you contribute?
Having rolling tables for
To
events and
camp.
shit like that.
Yeah.
Weather, which I love. They're fantastic. Having rolling tables to decide all that stuff.
Yeah. We did that
You've done it a few times.
in an
haven't you?
episode. Like it's just fun of you guys.
It's
right?
great, yeah.
It's
And-
funny.
The players get to roll for stuff, so they're excited. And
Yeah.
then if something goes wrong, they blame each other, not the DM.
Exactly. Take the heat off you, man. We have.
You rolled a 4. You rolled the dragon.
Ah, why'd you do that? I remember I did that the first game, the Dragon of Ice Pirate Peak. When you had to roll a d20 for an event that would happen when you go to a new location each time in Phandalin.
Yeah.
And I rolled a 5, and I had to take a photo because 5 was the Dragon of Ice where you guys are, and I was like, oh.
Is that the one we all just like most of us died?
It's canon now that
that we all died.
everyone
Yeah.
except Tobias died.
Except Device,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah. But we do have one last question.
Oh, do we?
From Marriott Dan. Would you prefer to play as a Medusa or a Harpy character given the chance? A fun one shot of a ragtag team of random monsters to return as a human babysitter. So, before we answer that question, there is a one shot that I have been designing on the side for you guys to pick a monster.
Oh, nice.
And then, we'll try to keep it within the same challenge rating. You can go up or down, because if one person's struggling, who gives a fuck, right? And I kind of want to bring it to like the Dungeon Keeper kind of vibe. There's a big badass monster that's giving you in charge of this dungeon. Make sure no fucking adventurers come down here and take our fucking treasure, and then you guys will get to plant traps and stuff like that, waiting for adventurers to come, and then that'll kind of pan that out.
Have you played the little tabletop game Boss Monster?
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Very much like Boss Monster.
Boss Monster is just fantastic.
So much fun. We can play it now. We have a table and
That's
setup.
true,
We can play board games.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. More content, right? More stuff for the stream. Let's play random board games and shit.
Love it.
I'm totally down for that.
Perfect.
I used to play board games at least once, if not multiple times a week.
Really?
Back in Texas. So
we did a while in my old house. It was just easy because you live with a bunch of people. You want people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer the question,
Yes.
which
badass
Medusa.
babe? Yeah, you pick Medusa?
Yeah, I like the idea that, which we discovered, you don't have to use the stone ability,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that opens you up to opportunities for the character and their personality.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably rather do the Medusa. Though there's things about, if it were, say, the Harpy Matriarch, that would be really interesting as well.
Yeah.
Not just doing
A
a standard Harpy.
Yeah.
Because I think a Harpy, I closed it, but a Harpy by itself is just like a CR1 or 2.
It's not
a low.
big deal.
Yeah.
But do you remember the challenge rating of the Matriarch at all?
I don't remember. It's in Ghost of Saltmarsh. I can probably find it. I'm gonna find it. You fill the sequence this time.
Yeah, I don't know. For myself, Medusa or Harpy. See, that's hard because I want to say Medusa because I love the notion of the character, and the dungeon delving creatures is my thing. I love the Underdark. I love those kind of environments.
CR5.
I'm a Slytherin. CR5? So it's kind of the
Medusa,
same
right.
as Medusa or CR6.
Yeah.
So if we choose
so
Harpy,
pretty
you
close.
can be Matriarch.
Right.
So the thing about, I think I would have a lot of fun as the Harpy though, with the ability to bring people towards you.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've thought of Lightning Lure and be like, this could be kind of fun right here. You know what I mean? To just pull people forward. A goth Medusa character, perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, and a punk rock Harpy, just be like, yeah! And just like picking everyone forward. That's not punk rock at all, that was like,
it's supposed to be a beautiful and alluring song, not a shriek.
Take me down to the paradise! Just start bringing people in.
Well, maybe.
Oh man. So, I don't know, I might, as much as I do love Medusas, I might go Matriarch. I would love that alluring ability.
It's interesting how we picked the other person's
The other
monster.
person was- We did good pitches.
Excellent, really long elevator pitches.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you everybody for tuning in to our first live episode. It's literally only going to look better as we go along and get more gear.
Yeah.
If Goth Medusa and Punk Rock Harpy are 100% in a relationship.
That's awesome.
That creature would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Flying snake. Just, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the chat. Mara Jadan, pleasure as always. I saw Riptide in here as well. Thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the new setup. So we can look better going forward. Thank you for coming out here in person.
I'll try and do less of the Larry King in the future, where I'm.
This is my but yeah.
I'll sit like this. I'm gonna get real comfortable. Just Gotta relax. We'll end up in front of that fireplace.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly
gonna
that.
I'm gonna keep interrupting you to prolong this.
Great.
So you can't actually close out.
So I can't ever close out. We live here now. Casey lives here. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we've got. I think Marriage to Dan was the one that mentioned traveling.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe that's the next one. We handle traveling.
Is enough. That's fine.
Exactly, and then we can just go off into different sections.
Yeah.
As much as we want, just build for different areas and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because we're here.
We'll talk about it a bit before next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Well, until later, my friends. I'm gonna push the button that takes things away.